Hello, I'm Jeff Byers, and we're in Module 1, Character Rigging, creating the lower body skeletal structure. And we need to kind of understand what joints are and how we create them. Joints are the building blocks of skeletons, and they're points of articulation. So, to create a joint, they're usually created in a hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is, for this demonstration, we're going to create a cylinder, and we're going to have the subdivisions set at 48 around, and then the height at 24. And we're going to go ahead and scale that up, hitting the R key, and just moving it up to the up the Y axis. And I usually don't draw joints in the perspective viewport because of this reason. So how do I get to joints? You can get them up here by clicking on rigging under the main shelf, main menu bar. You can find them up here. I usually don't use this method. You can also get it here under the shelf itself, so we can use that if you'd like. My preferred way is to hold down the space bar under hotbox controls and show rigging only. Okay, I'm doing that by holding down the space bar. This is my hotbox controls, my marking menu, and when I set it up, it looks like this. First of all, when I hold down the space bar, you see the marking menu. It's got the entire setup here. But under hotbox controls, I can go ahead and tell I only want to show rigging only. And when I hold the spacebar down, now it will show skeleton, skin, deform, constrain, and control. These are all the pieces that I need for rigging. Okay? So let's go ahead and set that up so you can use that. I'll be using that throughout the entire module system that we have online. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to an orthographic side view or front view, and depending on where your model is set up, let's go ahead and go to the front view, and I'm going to go click on skeleton, create joints in the option box. I'm going to reset the tool, always do that. And what I'm going to do is, once I get that reset, I'm not going to go through any of these options right now. We're going to leave it as is, and we're going to go ahead and create joint system that goes up the model. Now notice I can't see anything. The joints are there, but the model's hiding them. So I'm going to go Control Z back, and I'm going to go to shading in the orthographic viewport. Click on X-ray joints. Alright, so now I'm going to click on this again, and you can see that it goes right through, and I'm going to go ahead and draw those out and hit the enter key. And notice some of these are rotated kind of in a weird way. So I'm going to show you how to click on and get that situated correctly. Alright, let's go back, start from scratch again, and this time I'm going to click on joint, so skeleton, create joints, and I'm going to hold down the shift key. So I'm going to click on my first one, and as I'm clicking on these up, all the way up to the top, you notice that if I hit the enter key now, that they're all lined up perfectly. So that's probably the best way to create joints in a straight line. Now you could probably use the grid snap and snap them across, but you're limited that way. But with this, I can go ahead and create joints straight up by holding the shift key down. Alright, so when you get that finish, you can select the bottom joint. I'm going to hit the Q key for selection, and I'm going to click on the down arrow key, and that allows me to move back and forth. So the down arrow key lets you go up the hierarchy, and the up arrow key lets you go down the hierarchy. In the outliner, you need to go to Display, Windows Outliner, and hold down the Shift key and click on the plus sign, and you can see that that opens up your hierarchy of all the joints. And you can click on the first joint, which is called the root joint. Okay, and if you hit the E key and rotate them, you can hit the down arrow to kind of go up the joint system. There we go, and that's kind of the hierarchy. So it's kind of nice. I'm just going to Control Z back. And what we're going to do with the root, we're going to click on the root, and we're going to shift select the object, and we're going to want to skin or bind skin to that root system, that joint system. So I'm going to hold down the spacebar, go to skin, and bind skin, go into the option box. Now in this one we're going to go ahead and reset it, and usually we would change this to like 8 and 4 or 8 and 3, but I'm going to keep it at 5 and 4, and I'm going to click bind skin. Now let me go in here, and if I went to wireframe, hit the 4 key, it's pink. Now normally if you hit the 5 key you would never notice that, but if you hit the 4 key in the wireframe you notice that it turns pink, and that's a good sign. That tells us that that object is being influenced by something, and that's the deformer that comes with the rigging system or skin bind system. So I'm going to go to the side view again, or the front view, and I'm just going to click on the second one. Now if I click on the first one, the root, the whole object will move, okay, because the bind skin is, the hierarchy is that the root is controlling everything, all the joints. Okay, so if I go to the next one, hit the down arrow key, then if I remove that, if I hit the down arrow key and then rotate this, down arrow key and then rotate this, you can see that I can manipulate that and form that object by just rotating the joint. So we're kind of deforming that object. And that's the best way to explain joints, is that they are deformers, and you can actually model things this way too as well. So if you want to get that shape pretty quickly, put a joint system in there, and all you have to do is delete by type history. So if I want to get rid of the joint system, I would go to poly modeling and delete by type history. Now that object is now not being deformed by that root system. Okay, that's basically the basics of joints and how to create them. Now as far as setting a deferred angle, okay, of a joint system, or a preferred angle, you would basically create a joint system. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And you would create a system like this. So I'm going to go to skeleton, create joints, and we're going to start like, if we're going to do a leg, start there. We're going to start at the top, and here's the knee, and here's the ankle, let's say. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to click on another joint system. Okay, so deselect that one, go to skeleton, create joints. I'm going to go on this side and create kind of a joint system here. Okay, alright, I'm going to hit enter. Now to really show how this works, of course I can easily rotate this. Okay, so I can basically tell it where to rotate. Whether it is correct or not, I can rotate this this way to make it look like that. So the idea though is when we're doing IK systems, we have to have a preferred angle, okay, for the system to understand which direction to rotate. So if I click off and I go to skeleton and I click on create IK handle, click on the option box, you always want to do that, and reset the tool. Rotate plane solver. Okay, so I'm going to reset it and close it, and I'm going to click on the top joint and then click on the bottom joint, and that creates a IK handle tool. Okay. So if I move that IK handle, it will move with that direction. And I set that preferred angle for that reason. Now if I did this wrong, okay, and if I click on this, if I rotate that joint just a little bit over, and I create an IK system for this one, go to the top one and the bottom one, then that's going to rotate improperly for a leg. That's backwards. That would mean your joints would be broken. Okay? So that's why I set a preferred angle when I create the joints, and you would do that with the arm too. You want the arm to rotate the right way. So that's how you do preferred angles. That's why you set up your preferred angle when you're creating your joints in the first place. So when I do add a IK joint system, and we'll talk more about that later, but that's why we set a preferred angle. Okay, and that's it for this this little tutorial for Module 1.